Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here is a great idea that was sent to me over the weekend. How about no checks sent out? Instead, now listen to me, no taxes taken out of our earnings for the rest of this year. Thus, the worker is rewarded and the freeloader is not. I love it. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America on this Monday, July 13th. And we need a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning on a Monday. And I've got to try to sound like I'm really vibrant and alive this morning. I'm not. I'm tired. Oh, good morning, brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you in very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
No one actually called in this morning, so I'll do it.
Oh, well, I would appreciate that, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're my safety valve. Thank you, Sean. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you much. Hey, time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hebron. Oh, yeah, easy to find on the Burley-Paul Highway. I mean, the best of tools and equipment for you, for any task, any job, any construction project. They've got it all. They've got even all your garden tools, like your rototillers and your power rakes, and they've got it all. All you need to do is just give them a call or stop in. Yep. 678-3122, K&R Rental. They bring you right now the weather. And here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but we're going to be warming up as we hit midweek. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies for today, a little bit breezy out of the west at about 13 miles an hour. We're expecting a high of 81. Tonight, nice and clear, dropping down to about 51. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 82 with an overnight low of 52. By Wednesday, this is where we start warming up. Sunny skies, high of about 86 with an overnight low of 54. 91 for Thursday, low 90s for Friday, and upper 80s to low 90s for Saturday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I thought for a minute Gina had left the building. Good morning, and we'll be right with you, caller. Our weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hebron. I mean, Roger and the crew get there early in the morning at 7 a.m. to better serve all your rental needs on equipment. You get a hold of them today. Not sure what you need? I told you, give them a call, 678-3122 on the Burley-Paul Highway. K&R Rental. Stand by, caller. I also want to acknowledge the fact that I got to stop in there today. I've got to remember to do that. Over to Daryl's Cleaners. Yes, I've got a bag of old rumply crumplies I've got to get taken care of, and when I do go back to pick them up, my clothes will look brand spanking new. Always do. They do a phenomenal job at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And another reminder that dry cleaning extends the life of the clothes. And so please let the professionals help you, and they will. Kevin and Cindy and the whole outfit at Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, waiting to serve you. I know somebody else that's waiting to serve you, too, and that's our friends over at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Hello, Ramsey's. They get there early in the morning, 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And when I say this, it's really the truth. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and all the knowledge, all the experienced people, they just know, and they've been doing this for almost 7 decades of being the best. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And like I said, they're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. The number to call, 678-0459. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb.
My friend.
How is your blood pressure this morning?
I got a feeling you're going to try to take it to a new level, but go ahead.
Oh, no. I think everything is lovely.
Uh-huh.
You know, every morning when I say my prayers, I thank my Father in heaven for the fact that I live here in Burley, Idaho. It's such a blessing that we still have good law enforcement and everything. But this winter, I'm not so sure I want to go south, because a place like Las Vegas, the virus, all I have to do is stay away from it. But if you don't have police protection, boy, you're in for trouble.
Well, Keith, I honestly hope and I pray, and believe me, our prayers are kind of coinciding here. I absolutely pray that we can get this thing that's called evil and looting and burning and Black Lives Matter and Antifa under control. I'm praying for that every day. I said last week, and I will never back up on what I say on this program, because I mean what I say. I said it's going to take some bloody noses to get the attention of the left that they can't rule with anarchy. And I'll stand behind that. I took a little heat over that, but that's fine. I'm a big boy, and I'm not going to back up. We've got to clean out the garbage, and the garbage is trying to take over this country.
Well, I just can't understand that couple, that had the gate in front of their place. They tore that down and came in, and they have no protection whatsoever. And when they try to protect their property, they're going to be chastised.
Well, it's interesting, and I really find this interesting that you would mention that story, because that was my lead story for this morning. So thank you for leading me down the primrose path right into my story this morning. God bless you, my dear friend, and thank you for your call.
Well, stay happy.
I'll try. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to get into. This is not America anymore. No. And our Second Amendment is about ready to be scribbled over, cut up, and thrown in the garbage. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. This is a story that infuriates me so bad that I'm going to continue the conversation a little bit later on with Rick Manning and some other people. Caller, I'll be right with you. Stand by. Dino's Septic Service. I want to remind everybody about Dino's Septic Service. Septic tank pumping and septic and drain fields installed, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, septic inspections. Oh, they do it all. I mean, these folks are tremendous. Fast, fair, friendly service, and I can attest to that. They are good. Call the numbers 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service from our friends and your friends. Dino Septic Service. Oh, they got a new camera they can put down through the tubes and everything and find out what the problem is. Oh, they're good. Dino Septic Service. You get a hold of them today. Caller, if you'll give me the indulgence of just one more little commercial, I will be with you in just a minute. I've got to find This is going to be a little embarrassing here for a second because I rearranged everything on my desk. I'm not going to do that anymore because now I can't find anything. Oh, here we go. Oakley Pioneer Days in full swing, I'll tell you for darn sure. Oakley Pioneer Days running all the way through this next weekend. And they're going to have absolutely a lot of fun for you. Thursday night, don't forget the Gymkhana at 6 p.m. That's one of the biggest Gymkhanas you've ever seen anywhere. Friday and Saturday, the open rodeo with fireworks, and they're going to have volleyball tournaments. They're going to have a lot of good food with the Oakley Booster Club Chuck Wagon Breakfast, the Goose Creek Runoff, and, of course, next Saturday, the world-famous Oakley Pioneer Day Parade, starting a little later this year at 5 p.m. Don't forget that. Oakley Pioneer Days this week. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your patience.
Good morning. Well, the Oakley Parade, one year, my birthday's about that time, and it was out in the city of Roxon. Came back into Oakley, and here they had a parade for me.
Uh-huh.
That was nice on your birthday. And they put on a fantastic parade, and if you haven't, get down to Oakley on that and enjoy the festivities there. They do a great job. But, Zed, you're so right with you can't defend yourself. If you guys stand up for your own rights, you're criticized. It's all about Saul Alinsky stuff. They demonize you. They divide people by classes and, gun owners versus criminals. Anything they can do to and then if they don't, the scenario doesn't work, then they just go ahead and demonize you and make it up. And of course, that news media today isn't journalism; it's just make it up. They have an agenda. But our governors here in most of these states, including our own, have violated the Bill of Rights so badly that people are pretty upset with it. I am too, but this couple in St. Louis, I'm sure that's what you're...
Well, I want to stay with that story this morning, first and foremost, because here's a couple of things to consider. Number one, the thugs and punks with the Black Lives Matter, and that's what they are. I do not back up. I do not retract my verbiage. They had broken down a gate, a steel gate, into a gated community. Number one, they created vandalism and destruction of private property. Then they were coming onto the McCluskey's property, and I do not blame, and I would have done the same thing, and I think you would have too, gone to get a protectionary weapon, and in this case, the wife had one and the husband had one. They were afraid for their property and their lives from this mob of Black Lives Matter. And to think, now that the story has been turned around by a black prosecuting attorney in St. Louis saying that they had white privilege and that they are racist and issuing a search warrant for their guns and taking their guns, what crime did they commit other than protecting themselves and their property?
Well, none. And of course, what you pointed out there is the fact we have white privilege versus the rest of the world, I guess. And I can guarantee you, white males have been so discriminated work-wise. I know personally about that situation, and but anything they can do to further the cause of revolution, and where they openly admit now, the Black Lives Matter, the leaders, that they're Marxists. They were trained as Marxists. And do we really want a communist country? And of course, then they totally take away our guns.
Yep.
Martial law, and I'm sure you're not going to give up your guns very easily, but they have ways of doing that.
I'm an old man, and I've lived a very great life in this, the greatest country of the world, and that's the United States of America. But the Constitution says very specifically, Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. These folks, the McCluskeys, kept and bared their arms to protect themselves and their property, and the infringement by this idiotic left is absolutely repulsive.
Oh, absolutely, but I got to give you an encouraging story. And I heard
real fast, Adrian. I've got calls stacked up real fast.
Antifa was planning to come into Boise and really raise a lot of stink and chaos and violence. And the militia, some militia group here in Idaho, found out about their plans, and they, well, let's put it this way: they escorted these militia people and out in the desert someplace and dropped them off. There was about a dozen of them, I guess. But anyway, they got a greeting from one of the militia groups here in Idaho.
Good.
I heard that from a good source. And what I'm saying is we've got people in this state that are standing up for the Second Amendment and for the Constitution.
I agree.
There's going to be some ray of hope, but the rest of us need to stand up, too, and get hold of our elected officials and take a stand against this mob.
All right, I got to run, Adrian. I'm all, like I said, backed up on calls, but thank you very much. I really have to go. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Calls welcome, and we'll take one in just a minute. I want to remind you about Denny's Restaurant. Oh, good eating for you, the family, your friends and neighbors, everybody at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, my breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time. And, of course, don't forget all the desserts. Oh, delicious menu choices, and, of course, great people to work with and serve you. Stop in and see them today. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. And we're going to be having our lunch bunch there on the 23rd, and it's going to be a lot of fun, as always, with Thomas and Michelle. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. It is good. Caller, thank you for your patience. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I think we've seen how effective being visible is with Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And if we don't get effective as they are and become visible, Nancy Pelosi's Red Brigade bunch can give us a whole lot of problems here next year, this coming year.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're on the verge, we're on the precipice, and we're on the edge of the cliff. All of those things, if the Democrats take this next election. I am very, very fearful about chaos and crime. And when you see a husband and wife that were scared, I mean, underline that word scared, back in St. Louis about the mob with these Black Lives Matter and Antifa that had just broken into a gated private community on private property, I don't blame the McCluskeys whatsoever. And what makes me so mad is that it doesn't explain why their guns have been confiscated. They didn't do anything wrong other than stand there and tell the mob to get away from their property. And to think that they can't protect themselves and to put themselves in jeopardy, this is atrocious. And this prosecuting attorney back in St. Louis needs to be run out of town on a rail today. This is not fair at all to the equitable situation of honoring our Constitution and our amendments. They are breaking the law.
Well, today more people are interested in the football season coming up. They're more interested in watching a bunch of overpaid prima donnas making all this big money, and they've lost interest, a lot of them have, in what the heck is happening here in our streets.
You know, I'm going to surprise you when I say this, and I mean this, because you know me very well. I am a dyed-in-the-wool NFL football fan. I'm not going to watch this year. I've had it. If the NFL is going to adopt the policies of the Black Lives Matter, if the NFL is going to adopt the policy of having a black national anthem, I'm fed up with them. I don't care if I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Green Bay Packer fan being brought up back in that area. I am done. Done with them. I don't want anything to do with them. The same with the NBA, with the logo on the basketball court of the Black Lives Matter. I'm fed up with it. Like you said, these are overpaid prima donnas that have the intellect combined of a pin needle, and I absolutely have nothing to do with them.
how come we can't get the troops out to crush this thing that's destroying America?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Antifa is like a cancer eating away at a healthy body.
I couldn't agree more.
Nobody's out there. They don't have the power to pull the troops in and crush these people.
The Democrats are cowards, but the Republicans are worse. Thank you, Tony. I got to run. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
God bless you. There is nothing but cowardice in this country right now, and nobody wants to stand up and, like I said early, bloody the nose of the left that's in anarchy right now. Caller, I'll be right there. Please do not go away. No, I'm going to take your call quickly, and then we'll give away the cookies. Go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. One thing they're failing to mention there with this couple in St. Louis is they're saying that they're being brought up on assault charges.
Yeah.
Okay. Who did they assault?
Yeah. See, the ambiguity of that charge. Wait a minute. Let's talk about that charge. They're being brought up on assault charges for fearing for their lives, fearing for their property, having lunch in their backyard on the patio, when all of a sudden this mob of absolute evil garbage breaks down a private gate in a gated community and comes on their property. Who in the hell was assaulting who?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And it's what the media is failing to mention is what these people are doing. They are trespassing on their property.
That's right. But, there again, though, Doug, you know as well as I do, private property ownership and the protection of your property doesn't mean anything anymore to the left, the liberal left. They're trying to destroy that. Let me just tell you what's going on here. You're not going to believe this, but I've got some news stories that have just come in this morning, and they are trying to say that the Democrats and the far left, like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, listen to this. They are trying to abolish the suburbs because they are too clean and nice, and therefore, by definition, are racist with white privilege.
Really?
I've got it here in my hand.
Oh, my. These people are doing anything and everything. And I heard that Burgess Owens, who's running for a seat down in Utah, and he made a comment that just made me think, yep, that's it. He says, just remember, when evil is being defeated, they fight the hardest.
Yeah.
Before dawn.
Yeah. But can you imagine, and I'm going to ask Sean a favor. Sean, if you could boost the feed line to me just a touch. I'm having a hard time hearing the other side of the issue. But can you imagine that now it's coming out, and Gary Goldman, you've heard him on my program. I said, and I always relate to the segment with him. It's called The Man from Beantown and the Cowboy Me. Okay, he's been back in Boston, Massachusetts. Remember him?
Yes.
Okay. He is coming out with a full story about this, about how the Democrats and the left want to abolish the suburbs because they are racist and a sign of white supremacy. Doug, this ought to scare everybody where we are right now this morning.
Exactly, but they're not going to abolish the gated communities in which they live, where they can be segregated from all of the problems outside.
One question I've got for you, and you're a sharp guy. Would you please tell me how Mark and Patricia McCloskey, if they're on their property and they're scared for their lives and their property, and they stand there holding the guns. They didn't do anything. They didn't shoot a gun off, anything. Why are they being forced to give up their guns, and they have had search warrants against them coming into their home and taking their guns? What did they do that the Second Amendment does not protect?
They did nothing. What's happening is you've got liberal judges, you got liberal prosecuting attorneys, and they think that when America falls, they're going to be some of the elites but they're going to be trampled on like everybody else.
I'm just so sick and tired of hearing this. This couple is going through the keyhole right now. They're being dragged by their neck first by this black prosecuting attorney, this woman that absolutely is on the side of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And to think that this couple did nothing more than they were fearful. I mean, I heard some of the neighbors and I heard some of the other people talking about it. When that gate was thrashed and crashed, right there, that's a crime. I mean, vandalism, destruction of private property, anything, and coming onto private property. Boy, I mean, if you've got 150 people that are standing there chanting, we're going to kill you and your dog, you think maybe you ought to get some protection there, Dougie?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm going to put a sign. Well, I should anyway. I don't know if I will or not, but I'm going to put a sign that says, if you can read this, you are within range. Nothing in this house.
Amen. Amen. Doug, I got to give away some cookies. I'm running late. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers. Some of them we can eat at now, and let's go in and visit, and you'll leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
That's well stated. Caller number 2, I'm going to ask you if you could call back in just a minute. I want your call, but I've got to give away these cookies, and the cookies are provided by Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a restaurant. Man, you're not going to leave there hungry, I'll tell you that. And, of course, what a bakery with all the cakes and the muffins and the cookies and the wedding cakes and the pies and everything else. Oh, it's delicious. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. Here's the question for the cookies. You win a dozen cookies, call them and tell them when you'll be in to pick them up. Lee Majors starred in the $6 Million Man TV series, but what Western TV series did he star in earlier? Lee Majors starred in the TV series The $6 Million Man, but what Western TV series did he star in earlier? Give me the answer to that and you'll win the cookies really fast. Call me. I got calls stacked up. So if you would call right now. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good morning, Zeb. Big Valley.
Who is this?
Well, this is Donna.
Well, I thought it was your lovely voice. Now, here, you got to promise me something. Is George right there with you?
No, I'm on my way to work.
Oh, okay, good. Hopefully he won't hear about this, and you can keep the cookies all for yourself.
I can do that.
Okay, you call Sophie's and let them know when you're going to be there for your cookies, and please keep them away from George.
I will do that. You have a great day.
I will, Donna. God bless you. Thank you so much. The answer was, and she was right, the Big Valley with Barbara Stanwyck and others. And congratulations, Donna Mass wins the cookies. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'd like to compare our American society to a garden. Now, what happens when you have a garden growing? What comes up in the garden besides your fruits and vegetables?
You got a whole bunch of weeds, Rodney.
That's right. And what happens if you don't take a hoe to the weeds?
The weeds take over, Rodney. We're having fun with your game here so far.
Yep. And when the weeds take over, you lose everything. And that was shown when you ignore it. It's just like what happened in CHOP or Chaz, whatever you want to call it. And we've let the weeds in this beautiful garden called America grow and grow, and we haven't taken a hold to them yet.
Well, it's time to tear the weeds out and get rid of them. And I can't emphasize the fact that this has to stop right now. I mean, I don't care how it stops. I really, when I say that, I don't care how it stops. The weeds, as you put it, the Black Lives Matter, an evil Marxist group that's absolutely hell-bent on getting rid of our Constitution, we've got to stop them now.
Yeah, otherwise we're going to lose everything that our forefathers have worked for. And what are our children going to have? Nothing. They'll be living in the worst conditions. They'll be wondering what happened to the freedom that we used to have.
Well, I'll tell you, Rod, you're spot on, and I hope and pray, and I mean this, and Deanna and I both feel the same way and talked about it all the way down to Elko the other day, that this thing has got to stop now before completely it's taken away the freedom of peace-loving residents, where you can't step out of your home, you're scared to go out on the street for fear of being shot or mugged. I mean, this is ridiculous. We're hearing stories every day about people out walking their dogs and confronted. Do you believe in Black Lives Matter? Well, no. Bang. Then they're beaten or assaulted. This has got to stop.
Exactly. It's like I was just saying. It's time to start doing some weeding.
All right. Well, Rod, appreciate your call as always. You have a blessed day. Okay.
You too.
All right, thank you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let me stop right here. And I know there's some liberals in the audience that just love to tear everything I say apart. I'm not advocating anything but adherence to the Constitution and protecting ourselves and our property. You see, the double-edged sword here is the left wants to take away our security and our right to bear arms. But then on the other side of that, they also want to cancel out the police. So, with no police to call 911 and say, help, I've got problems, I've got intruders, I've got a problem here, I need to have police help right away, please. They're not there. And then if you can't protect yourself and your family and your property, it's all over. It's all over. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Ritter's Showcase. They're having a great big indoor tent sale. Where are they located? 2611 Overland in Burley. This indoor tent sale is absolutely phenomenal. They've got great money-saving deals in their bedroom department. And, boy, they've got Minikash's best sleep center with over 30 beds to choose from. Oh, my. And they've got all kinds of great deals and appliances. I mean, we're talking an 18-cubic-foot refrigerator for just $5.99. You better get on in for the Ritter's Showcase Indoor Tent Sale. This is a phenomenal sale. 12 months, same as cash available with no credit options available. You better check it out. Ritter's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again, Mr. Bell. You know, I, for one, am sick and flippin' tired of all this nonsense. And it's not really nonsense. It's violence going on against our friends, our neighbors, our families. What do they think they're going to solve by defunding the police? Are they going to do the fire department and EMTs next? Who are they going to call? Oh, maybe Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Donna, I never thought in my lifetime, honestly, that the stupidity would rise to this level in any country, to where you want complete anarchy, you want complete takeover and destruction of civil services like your police, your fire departments and everything, and complete anarchy and chaos. And that's what we're bordering on. But here's the key. Why can't your neighbors and across the board the United States, why can't the left-leaning people that are voting Democratic, and hopefully they'll see the light, why can't they understand what a chaotic, non-caring society they would be voting for with the likes of Biden and Pelosi? When Pelosi was asked last week about all the destruction and the mayhem and the vandalism and the statues being torn down, you know what she said? Well, people will do what they do.
Yeah, everybody's got their blinders on. I, for one, hope that most of these liberals, some of them are very down-to-earth people and realize what's going on. Some of them are just, it's not within their bubble, so they don't give a hoot about what happens. I, for one, and I am not a violent person, contrary to popular belief, I do not advocate violence. I think it's ridiculous. It does not solve anything. The tearing down of these monuments, I don't know what they're trying to prove with it.
This last weekend, Donna, this last weekend, These filthy-minded people even tore down and burned a statue of the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, that's getting a little bit, well, I won't say what I was going to. That's despicable. I don't know how we're going to fix this. I just know that I can see a revolution coming. Don't know when or don't know who's going to start it, but I'll be right there to stop these people. And you can bet your life, you can take to the bank that if they come upon my property and threaten to kill my dog or my husband or my grandchildren or my children, my friends, yeah, they'll get something. They're going to get a can of whoop, you know what, opened up.
But really, put yourself in the place. Just real quick, give me a short answer on this. Let's just say that you and George are the McCluskeys. You are sitting in your backyard having lunch, not bothering anybody. You're on your patio. And then all of a sudden, bang, slam, bang, and everything else goes the metal gate in your gated community, and here it comes onto your property. 150 marchers of Black Lives Matter yelling and shouting and demanding and saying we're going to kill your dog and we're going to kill you too. You don't think that I'm not going to make a run for wherever I've got my gun stashed? You better believe I am. I'm
gonna follow the 3 S's.
I know exactly what they are.
I know you do.
Well, this is insane. Never in America. And then all the while they're putting on the headline, oh, white supremacy, oh, white racism, and etc. This is absolutely being twisted and torn, and the McCluskeys are right now the goat, if you will, that's about ready to be sacrificed.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out a way to prosecute them. It's in the Constitution. Why can't we follow the Constitution? We've gotten so far away from that. It's just, it makes me just irate.
Absolutely.
I don't understand, and I'm like you. I never thought in a million years I would see anything this destructive and evil.
Yeah, I agree. Donna,
in the world.
Enjoy your cookies, my dear lady, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
I will. Thank you, Zach.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
I just can't believe this. I mean, I was raised where my dad and my relatives, I mean, you come onto your neighbor's lawn and your property and you try to do damage or whatever, there's going to be an outcry. And there's going to be an uproar. And those people that were trying to perpetrate a crime or any kind of mayhem, they were dealt with. They were dealt with. I mean severely. And they should have been. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location for all your equipment, like your Bobcats. They got all the shapes and sizes, the trenchers, the scissor lifts. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. Oh, they've got great financing plans to buy and super lease programs. You better check it for all the lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying. You check it out at Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. All right, time for you to give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Some of the verbiage that is in some of the news stories about the McCluskeys, let me just read the headline on the story. It says, in St. Louis, police execute search warrant. And then the story starts and it says, authorities executed a search warrant at the St. Louis mansion of a white couple whose armed defense of their home during a recent racial injustice. What? A racial injustice protest drew widespread attention. Mark and Patricia McCluskey, who are personal injury lawyers, were caught, keyword, caught, on video brandishing guns as the demonstrators walked past their home. The demonstrators were on private property. the demonstrators were yelling that they were going to kill them and kill their dog. None of this comes out. And they're said that they were waving and brandishing weapons. I don't blame them. I mean, you talk about a great way to spoil a Sunday afternoon lunch by having 150 weirdos, crackpots, and dangerous Black Lives Matter and others standing on your front steps saying they're going to kill you and your dog, and yet the McCluskeys are the ones that are bearing possibly the brunt of legal action against them from a black prosecuting attorney? Oh, please, somebody, explain this to me. All right, now it's time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh my, they are the best at what they do, protecting and helping your hearing health. They're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number to call, 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Please don't put it off. If you've noticed some problems with your hearing, they can and they will help you at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but we're going to be warming up as we hit midweek. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies for today, a little bit breezy out of the west at about 13 miles an hour. We're expecting a high of 81. Tonight, nice and clear, dropping down to about 51. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 82 with an overnight low of 52. By Wednesday, this is where we start warming up. Sunny skies, high of about 86 with an overnight low of 54. 91 for Thursday, low 90s for Friday, and upper 80s to low 90s for Saturday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Range.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by Dr. Christine Pickup and the staff at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital. And the number to call, 312-0957, for expert diagnostic testing and the best technology to help your hearing. Mount Harrison Audiology. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to just get this in quickly before I take another call. I was honored this past weekend at the Silver State Stampede, one of the premier rodeos in the Northwest, at Elko, Nevada, this last Saturday night. And I was the Grand Marshal. I had announced that rodeo for pretty close to almost 30 years. And with health problems and everything that came about, I was forced to evacuate that position, and I felt really down and out about it because those people are so fantastic. And they named me as their Grand Marshal this past weekend, and I know some of them are listening right now this morning down there. And I just want to say thank you again. Never have Deanna and I been treated any better, and it was an outstanding tribute to me, and thank you. I really did appreciate it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, by God, you deserve that deal down to Elko, but I just wanted to see if you got the tears in your eyes when they talked about that police officer that was shot.
There is.
I thought that was a very fitting thing.
I'll tell you something. That's hard to talk about, Bob, and I'm going to tell you my feelings on it. I visited with a gentleman on the committee that had gone to school ever since elementary school all the way through high school with that police officer, and to stand next to him and knowing the tribute and watching his face and some of the remarks he made, it was just absolutely so sorrowful. And when you start talking about, just a minute, Bob, just a minute, let me just jump in here, please. Let's not override each other. I want to say this. I am absolutely a huge supporter of Blue Lives Matter. I will do anything on this program I can to protect and aid and abet our police forces. And with that officer that was shot down there in Nevada and his life taken for nothing, it was absolutely deplorable.
Okay. Have a good day, Zeb.
Hey, God bless you, Bob. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, that was a tearjerker, and rightfully so. And I just want to thank the Silver State Stampede. They just were spot on with everything they did this weekend. Everything they did this weekend was first class, as usual. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Zeb, I just wanted to tell you thank you and Silver State Stampede for what a wonderful performance they put on, what an honor that was for you, and such a job well done. We went down. I'm so glad we did. It is so good to see people banding together, like-minded people coming together, uplifting and supporting one another.
You know, Pat, when they drove me into the arena and they asked me to say a few words, you've known me for a long, long time, and I think you probably could tell that I was about ready to lose it. And that was tough. That was really tough.
You held it together. But what an honor, Zeb, and what a great committee, and what a great community
for
them to go up against the odds that they did and pull that off. That was just, it was fabulous.
You know something, Pat? What happened before the rodeo, I had a chance to visit with the Elko County Sheriff. And he is a big, very, very staunch man. He's probably about 6'4", 6'5", and a tough guy. And the governor of Nevada was trying desperately to shut them down. And the county sheriff said, no, not on my watch.
Yes. We spent yesterday with him, with Pat and Pat's dad, and I just commend those people, and it was just very well done, and it's time we start standing up and taking our privileges back, our nation back, and our rights back.
You know, I'm so sorry that I didn't get a chance to see and or talk to you folks down there, but I'll tell you what, Deanna and I have never been honored any better at any time. I mean, Pat Laughlin, the entire committee, Bob Rosevere, Elkie Mariluch, Billy Wines, my old team roping buddy. I just, it was hard when they handed me the mic to say a few words. You know that I'm kind of like I was vaccinated with a phonograph needle. I just keep talking and talking. But that's one instance where I was almost at a loss for words.
Well, you did good, and it was such an honor to be there to watch them present that to you.
Thank you. Thank you and your husband. I appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah, God bless.
Oh, thank you. Wow, that was nice. Yeah, they handed me a microphone after they had driven me into the arena. And they said, we'd like you to say a few words. And, oh, my goodness, for somebody that's made a living for over 50 years behind a microphone, and then the old warble and wobble of the old throat came in, and I thought, I'm going to lose it. And thank God I did not. But those people treated me so kindly, and it was such a nice tribute. Thank you. Silver State Stampede in Elko, Nevada. Thank you. Time for a good word about our major sponsor, and they are our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. If you're ready for summertime travel, you've checked everything out, but, wait a minute, you forgot to have your tires checked out on your vehicle, whether you're going to go see Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred down in Tucumcari, New Mexico, or whatever. Hey, they've got all the tires for you, for your pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. I know a lot of people are leaving for the National High School Finals, as a matter of fact. They better make sure they got all their trailer tires checked. They're going to be pulling out tomorrow to go back to Oklahoma. Well, I'll tell you what, you stop in any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they can serve you, and they will. Not only with the best of tires, but also brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got a minute left. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay, Zeb, this is going back to the people that defended their home. The attorney was black, they are white. This is racial discrimination. How about the general that's having all this problem, or had all the problem? He's white. The judge that's holding things up is black. Racial discrimination against the whites.
I can't argue that because the list goes on and on. I hope, and I mean this, Tony, that we're not going to go into another racial divide in this country more serious than ever before. It's got to stop. It has got to stop. And like I said, we can't let Black Lives Matter and Antifa take over the narrative that's going on in this country. It has got to stop.
Well, the country will be gone if it happens.
I couldn't agree more. Tony, God bless you. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Well, we're going to take a little break. By the way, quick note, Washington Redskins football team changing their name. They've had that name since 1933, another part of the cancel culture. I personally am going to keep referring to the team as the Washington Redskins. I'm not going to change. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, here we go. Good morning. Kind of windy outside, but blue skies, sunshine. Zeb at the Ranch, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you very safe, clean environment, and the best in tires. And don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's have this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Absolutely at your disposal. Western Waste Services, taking care of your garbage, getting rid of it. And also, too, if you've got an event coming up, don't forget you're going to have a lot of people. You better check with them on the porta potties. Very important. All right, call 734-6969. They're there to serve you. Western Waste Services, you make that call today. Want to also remind you quickly about what's going on at Oakley Pioneer Days this week. Oh, big doings. I mean, they're going to have all kinds of fun all week long up there. Don't forget, Thursday night, the Gymkhana at 6 p.m. That's a big event, and it lasts until the wee hours of the morning. Friday and Saturday, open rodeo, and, of course, fireworks and all kinds of great things happening at their rodeo, always every year at Oakley Pioneer Days. Vendors in the park, great food, all kinds of fantastic people to visit with, and, of course, the Pioneer Day Parade coming up on next Saturday at 5 p.m. Respect the past and embrace the future. All of this at the Oakley Pioneer Days for 2020. Don't you miss it. Get on up there and enjoy. Want to quickly also tell you about our friends at Hanson Mortuary. I thank them for everything they do. And that's Joel Hewitt, his family, and his staff serving you and your family in a very tumultuous time when there's the passing of a loved one. They are there serving the families with the best possible support and comfort and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, and the number to call 436-5636. Joel Hewitt and his family and staff serving you, and Joel also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. I'm kind of behind here a little bit, and before I go to my dear friend Rick, I hope he understands I've got to take care of just a little bit more, and I want to talk about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. We're going to be starting back over there this afternoon, and I've had some problems with my own knees and hips a little bit, and we're going to get back into the swing of things at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and the whole staff of excellent physical therapists are there to serve you with the best of exercise exercises, and, of course, the hydrotherapy pool, and all of this to help you get back to being you. Call the number, make an appointment, 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Woo! Finally, I bet he's chomping on the bit. Good morning to my buddy, President of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Doug?
I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit late this morning, and I apologize for the delay coming to you. But, Rick, I want to start this off this morning by asking you, I know you're a lot like me in my thinking, but I am absolutely livid to think that a couple on their back porch in St. Louis, enjoying a Sunday afternoon lunch, all of a sudden is being indicted possibly. They've had search warrants against them for doing nothing more than standing guard on their property as Black Lives Matter tore down the private gate coming onto the private gated property, and now their guns have been confiscated and they're turning out to be the criminals. What in the heck is going on here?
Well, what's going on is the law isn't being applied. The law in Missouri specifically gives them the right to defend their home. There is no duty to retreat. And George Soros elected a prosecutor, put lots of money into the prosecutor's race, and elected a prosecutor who is determined to enforce the law unequally and, in fact, enforce the law unlawfully. And as a result, what you're seeing is a total breakdown in citizens' ability to depend on the police or the prosecutors to actually uphold the law. And when that occurs, people buy guns, people buy ammunition, because once you lose the ability to depend upon your local authorities to enforce the law, you know you have to enforce it yourself. You have to protect yourself. Every person, and it is effectively when we've seen it across the country with the rioting, it's effectively a sign of what the left is attempting to do, which is completely destroy the rule of law. They know they can't destroy it by going through the ballot box, so they're destroying it by getting people elected at local positions who effectively are going to ignore the law. And by ignoring the law, they are negating every single person's vote, because they are saying, I'm now in the legislative branch, and we complain about when the Supreme Court does it. That's much more dangerous when a local prosecutor does it, when a local police chief does it. And Zab, one of the things that's most disturbing about it to me is that couple called the police and the police would not come.
That's right.
They called the police on multiple occasions and the police would not come. They've been unable to hire private security because they say it's too dangerous. And so that couple has essentially, and they're liberals, by the way, have been thrown to the wolves by the government, their local government, but the police, when the prosecutor put a warrant out for the arrest of their firearms, and the AR-15 that he was holding was confiscated. When the government put out a call to arrest their firearms, take their firearms from them, confiscate their lawfully owned guns, the police showed up. And Zeb, you know, I'm one of the number one people saying defunding the police is stupid. We have to, law enforcement has a hard job. Sometimes they mess up, but we've got to, they are exactly the line that causes civilization to exist, be able to exist. But it's strange to me that the police in St. Louis chose to not show up to defend homeowners against an attack, but did show up to take away their means to defend themselves against that attack.
Yeah. Explain something else to me. The word confiscation, and that's been used in this one story that I have here many, many times, and seizure is another word that was used many times. For what purpose? The couple, the McCloskeys, are standing on their property when slogans and epithets are giving to them that they're the Black Lives Matter and the thugs and the punks are going to kill their dog and kill them and everything else. Why were their guns confiscated and seizure was taking charge of the weapons when they were legally on their property? I don't understand how that can happen.
Well, because the law, which was on their side, on the McCloskey side, when the law enforcers choose not to follow the law, who's going to hold them accountable?
Yeah.
And the answer is no one. And so what we're seeing is not just we can talk about the Second Amendment. It's a Second Amendment violation, but it's also a violation of their property rights.
Yes.
Because those were their property. They did not illegally use them. They used their property, and they did nothing illegal in the course of this entire thing. What instead happened was you've got a rogue prosecutor, and unfortunately George Soros has elected a lot of these rogue prosecutors around the country by giving hundreds of thousands of dollars in races that nobody pays any attention to. And in doing so, that prosecutor is engaged in an overt act of violating the law. And if you could hold a prosecutor responsible for violating the law and misapplication of law, the person would be disbarred. And maybe that's the answer, because the state of Missouri isn't nearly as crazy as this woman. And as a result, maybe the answer is for the prosecutor to be disbarred, so she can't practice law, and removed from office that way. But it shows what happens when the government puts somebody in their crosshairs. And they have the institutional control of the levers of the law. And it's the big picture here, Zeb, and it really concerns me a great deal. What we're seeing is when people determine that the government no longer will protect them and no longer will follow the law, the fabric of society gets completely shredded.
Mm-hmm.
The social contract that we have, we pay taxes, we do these things, we give up certain freedoms, and the government's supposed to consent to the governed kind of thing. The government is then supposed to do its part, which is actually uphold the law. And when the government refuses to do so, when the government in fact changes the law without even going through a city council, they just change it because they want to enforce it a different way. The faith that people have in the government's willingness, in that social contract between individuals and the government, goes away. And when that goes away, we slide into anarchy, and that is exactly what these leftists want.
Yep.
Because whenever societies that fall into anarchy don't stay in anarchy long, strong men rise. And that is, we saw it in the Weimar Republic. We've seen it time and time again throughout history. Is strong men rise when anarchy hits the streets, and that's what these people are trying to affect. Effectively, we're losing our country to a bunch of people with pink and green hair.
Yep.
It's insane.
That's absolutely the truth. And then on the other side of the coin, there are the charges of, the McCloskeys are racist. They have white privilege. They were showing their white supremacy by standing out in front of their homes with guns. This is so idiotic, and it's got to stop. I know for a fact, Rick, that if this happened to me and I was having lunch with my wife and all of a sudden over 150 protesters are standing there saying they're going to kill me, my wife, and my dog, etc., I know doggone well I'm going to arm myself and in a not so subtle fashion tell them to get the heck out of Dodge City. I think any American that has any salt at all is going to stand up in favor of the McCloskeys. This has got to stop.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. it does have to stop, and the challenge is, how do we stop it? Because law enforcement is essentially a local function, and it's built that way. We don't want a standing army from the federal government all over the country enforcing the law. Okay, it's something we don't want. So and yet short of that, you don't have a capacity in a place like St. Louis where you get people who are effectively changing the law for political purposes and putting people under threat of death because for some reason they're not part of the favored class, and it is so we need to, this is a multifold problem, but the first and foremost thing is from a legal perspective, the U.S. Attorney in Missouri needs to intervene, and essentially the state or the federal government has to take over the functions of the prosecutions in St. Louis, because they are no longer because if they don't, people are going to just start shooting each other.
Yes.
Okay? Because ultimately, when society breaks down, and it's every person for themselves, a couple of things happen. First of all, it's really bad news for women. All these people who think it's women's rights are important, and they are. It is really bad news for women because the law, first and foremost, protects women. And once the law breaks down, those protections are gone. And contrary to the movies that we get seen, women are still smaller physically than men. They are, and as a result, they are at a disadvantage when the law breaks down, because the law is the equalizer. The law is the civilization that we agree to. And when you lose civilization, it becomes who's ever bigger, who's ever stronger. And, bad news, but, as much as we want to see Wonder Woman run around and do stuff, very few women are bigger and stronger than men.
Absolutely.
And as a result, the power goes to the man.
Absolutely.
And likewise, power goes to who has the gun, who has the biggest gun. You saw that in Chaz, or wherever the heck they called that place, where the guy who had the gun took over and became a warlord. And then he distributed guns to all his cronies. And that was, immediate. That was what anarchy brings. Anarchy brings Mad Max and the settlements in Mad Max. That is what anarchy brings. And we saw it in the streets of Seattle. We're seeing the result of the lunacy in Kansas City. We're seeing, or in St. Louis rather, we're seeing the same thing in terms of Minneapolis, where they let the mob run riot, and now they want the federal government, the rest of us, to pay for it. And President Trump told them no. It's anytime the local government decides and state government decides that their citizens should be set at the mercy of the mob and refuse to do their job. They refuse to enforce the law. At that point, they lose their legitimacy to lead.
I had another story that just made my blood boil over the weekend, and that was about the couple. Pardon me?
Wow. You're scaring me.
Another story, Rick, that I know you're very familiar with is the California couple that were disgusted, like I am, about the painting of streets that says Black Lives Matter, and absolutely improper, distasteful, and against the law, I think, as far as defacing our highways and byways. And they painted over it, and now they're being charged, they being the couple that didn't want Black Lives Matter on the highway, they're being charged with a hate crime. This is absolute insanity.
Once again, another Soros prosecutor. Contra Costa County, California, the prosecutor was elected with Soros dollars. And it's a theme. So, yeah, they've been charged with a hate crime because they believe that all lives matter. They've been charged with we've seen thousands of people breaking windows, writing on walls, defacing statues, breaking up, attacking churches, lighting churches on fire. And you know what? We don't have mass arrests of people for graffitiing the entire city of D.C. We don't have people being sued to have to deal with the destruction that they occurred or the loss of revenues by businesses that have been shut down and still remain shut down because of their actions. No, we don't have any of that. But no, the prosecutor in Contra Costa County, which is in the Bay Area, for those who don't know, and Contra Costa County is going to inflict the full force of the law, including throwing hate crimes, because somebody said, painted over the Black Lives Matter that had been the effective graffitiing on the streets of Black Lives Matter. That's once again, the Soros application law is exactly the same kind of case as what we see in St. Louis, Missouri.
Absolutely.
And it's exactly the same kind of prosecutor because both of them were handpicked and funded by Soros for election.
You know, Rick, I know you're a Christian like I am, and I'm proud to say I am. I will never back up. But we're seeing all this looting, burning, destruction, vandalism. And this past weekend in San Francisco, I believe it was, there was even the tearing down, burning, and breaking of a statue of the Virgin Mary. And I sit back, and I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, where are we? How low can we go before this whole thing just bottoms out and we're in total moral decay? What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I've never seen America this low.
As long as cities like San Francisco and elsewhere allow it, it's going to occur. Children have temper tantrums, and this is a temper tantrum. It's a violent temper tantrum. It's a deliberate temper tantrum. It's an organized temper tantrum. But you know when it stops? It stops when these bozos get arrested. It stops when these bozos get thrown in jail. It stops when these bozos find that they're not able to get another job. It stops when these bozos end up finding themselves, as opposed to going back to their basements and being applauded on the internet, when they get approbation. It stops when they're not allowed. When Starbucks stops saying we want to stop hate now, and so we're going to attack Facebook, but they support the very people who are promulgating hate across the country. It stops when the people, you and me, say enough is enough, and we say to people like Starbucks, we're not buying your stinking coffee. It stops when we stand up and say it stops. It stops when we tell our elected representatives to get off their tails and start doing something about it. And I will tell you, in Idaho, you haven't seemed to have this same problem because people of Idaho aren't going to put up with it. But in San Francisco, this is what we're seeing is a bifurcation of America, the splitting up of America. And those of us who sit here and just aghast, living in blue areas, are going to find ourselves in a position where we have to move to red areas, conservative areas that uphold the law. And we will have a splitting of the country if we don't fix this. And the only way we fix it is by finding these people and throwing them in jail. And Zeb, the hardest part about this is the FBI is completely blind on this because they've spent the 8 years under Obama and looking at militias and saying that militias were somehow the big threat to America, and they didn't even recognize that Antifa existed, even though everybody else in the world knew it, but the FBI. So the FBI doesn't have any infiltration into this network. They didn't even know it existed because they've been blinded by basically leftists who've run it. And as a result, what we expected as an FBI that was formed, and one of the primary tasks in being formed was not to take down Al Capone, it was to stop the Red Menace. That was the real reason the FBI was formed. They're experts in infiltrating cells. And now they're completely blind because the people at the top for many, many years took a view and decided that the wrong people were the enemy. And so they got into bed with the exact people who are running this revolution. Mm-hmm. And they don't have the brains to be able to look around and say that they've been surrounded and taken over by the very enemy that they were sworn to protect us against.
Amen. Amen.
So it's pretty frustrating. But, yeah, we're going to have to deal. The way it stops is when these guys start going to jail.
Absolutely. Rick, I wish I had more time. I'm flat out of time. We had a caller. I don't have time to take the call. I apologize to the caller. But the president of Americans for Limited Government, a dear friend of this program, Rick Manning, thank you for your insight and wisdom. I appreciate it. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, take care. Thank you. And to the caller again, I'm so sorry. I just flat ran out of time. Denny's Restaurant, don't forget, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, boy, the menu items. And, of course, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time, all the desserts. My favorite meal, of course, breakfast. I brag on breakfast all the time, and Deanne loves to order the strawberry crepes breakfast. You're going to love it. All the choices, and really, really nice people serving you. This is the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we're going to be having our lunch bunch on July 23rd. Don't forget about that at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. It's true. It is America's Diner. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Let's Ride. Oh, get your motor running. Oh, I know a lot of you hit the hills this last weekend, and it looks like this next weekend's going to be even better weather-wise. Oh, stop over and check out all the great buys on the side-by-sides and the four-wheelers at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 2. Wow. I have no idea how they got everything in that showroom, but believe me, they've got something for you. Like I said, get your motor running. Get over there and check it out. Great accessory department and a super service department to keep you running at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. It's true, where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. While you're over in that area, I guarantee I know some other people that really are devoted to serving you and helping you with your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more with Todd and the great staff at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. That's not brag, that's a fact. They are great. Number to call, make an appointment. I urge you to do so, 436-4424, 436-4424. They are devoted to serving you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good folks. Last but not least, I want to remind you about our friends at Patterson's Electronics. Holy smokes, I'm telling you, when it comes to electronics, I mean, they've got everything. I mean, all the monster cables and your power cords, and they've got all your video surveillance cameras and your home theater systems and your complete sound systems. They've got items in there that I could go in with Curtis and Lorena and they could educate me. I don't think I'd really understand. I'm not really into your electronics type things, but boy, are they smart about all this. And they've got everything you need. All your audio and video needs, I'm telling you, they're good. Open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6, and the address 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorraine and the staff, they're heads and shoulders above me. Boy, they can explain it to you. Everything, even your TV sets, all your TV sets, Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Really nice people. Let's go to the phone line right now. I think we've kept this man waiting for a couple of minutes, and I apologize for that. And I say good morning to Dr. Steve Turley. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb. Thanks for having me back.
Well, it's
great to be with you.
Nice to have you on the program. And for those that are listening and didn't catch you the last time you were on the program, give us a little thumbnail sketch of Dr. Turley, who he is and what he does.
There you go. Well, I have my claim to fame is I have 2 degrees, one in music and the other in theology, so I like to say I went where the money is. And when I was doing my doctoral research several years back, I came across a field of studies known as post-secular studies. It's also known as post-globalist studies. And it was basically arguing that we were seeing all over the world indicators that a new sort of conservative, particularly religious conservative world was dawning and the age of globalism and secularism was over. I didn't believe it for a minute. I was a pessimist, as and I certainly hoped something like that could happen. But then I'll never forget, it was just a few years later, June 23rd, 2016, and I looked at the papers, and Brexit had happened. And for the first time, the EU was actually beginning to shrink. It was beginning to collapse. And a nationalist movement won throughout Britain. More Brits voted to leave the EU than had ever voted in any election in Britain's history. And then it kept going. A few months later, Donald Trump, right, November 8th, 2016, he wins the presidency when everyone says there's no way he could. And it just kept going. We saw nationalist populists win in Austria and Italy and Hungary and Sweden and Brazil and Estonia and Poland. We just saw it yesterday. Poland had their presidential election. Their nationalist populist president was reelected. So all of a sudden, I saw that scholarship actually coming alive right before my very eyes. And I said, this is just too much fun. I've got to share this with the world. And that's when I started my YouTube channel, and we're almost at 400,000 subscribers as we speak.
I hope you don't, and I hope you're not offended if I call you by your first name, Steve, if that's all right.
Well, yeah, I only require that my mom call me Dr. Turley.
Okay.
So, I'm kidding.
Steve, I got to tell you this. I'm just an old redneck cowboy from Idaho, but I'm really getting afraid and fearful for my family, my children, my grandchildren, with a society that is very vacant right now on laws and regulations and the respect for those. And we're seeing Antifa, and especially Black Lives Matter, basically come in and control and take away and call people like myself and you racist and privileged and white supremacists. This thing is getting completely out of hand. What are your thoughts on the future, and how do we stop this problem?
Great question. I think it's a twofold strategy, ultimately. One could actually say threefold. What Trump is doing is he is engaged in sort of a campaign of, we might say, vengeance and vision. So at the one level, he's bringing the full force of the federal government law authorities against these guys. His executive order mandating 10-year prison sentences for anyone just even trying to destroy one of our monuments. The Justice Department has sent out federal agents. They're arresting now. They arrested what they called a ringleader of Antifa, Jason Charter, I believe is his name, in trying to pull down the Andrew Jackson statue in Lafayette Square across from the White House. They started arresting BLM activists, Black Lives Matter activists, particularly violent ones. They started using social media, where they're investigating their use of Facebook and the like, and arresting them for inciting riots. So this is very good. We're seeing the Georgia Governor Brian Kemp declaring state's emergency and bringing the National Guard troops to quell the violence, which he's done successfully in Atlanta because their Democrat mayor can't, because she's too much of a sympathizer with it. But even she had to admit, we're killing ourselves here. This has nothing to do with police officers. So that's going on at one level. And then at the other level, oh my, you look at that, the vision level, you look at that speech that Trump gave at Mount Rushmore. Mm-hmm. That was beautiful. Tucker Carlson said it was probably his best speech he's ever given.
Absolutely.
And it really brings into focus the beautiful unifying message of nationalist populist traditionalism, of reasserting our national sovereignty and reasserting what we all have in common. We have common borders, a common economy, and a common culture. And this is what brings us all together. And that stands in stark contrast to the divisive tribalism that we're seeing on the left.
Steve, when you look at the situation, though, I mean, you're talking about Joe Biden in the basement, not coming out in condemnation of anything as far as the burning, the looting, the vandalism, etc., and the beatings. And then you listen to Pelosi. I mean, this was so disgusting to me last week when she was asked about the toppling and the burning and desecration of our statues, including the Virgin Mary, and she said, oh, people will do what they will do. What kind of a party, what kind of a process are these people living in that might come into prominence in November, and they may be in charge?
Right. Yeah, well, it's a devil's bargain that they're playing in the Democrat Party, I would argue. I would argue BLM is a Trojan horse in many respects, because what you've got is you've got this primarily, white bourgeois leadership in the Democrats, Pelosi's or Schumer's and the like, and of course Biden, and they've bought into this notion of cultural Marxism. They've bought into this notion from the 1960s that if they formed a coalition of supposedly oppressed minorities, that's going to be enough to overthrow the dominant majority culture, ethnicity, however you want to describe it. And they think somehow they're going to be able to manage that. They think somehow they're going to be able to direct that and lead that. We're already seeing Black Lives Matter activists coming out and saying they need to step down. I mean, we got a little bit of a taste of that with the whole, AOC, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez feud with Nancy Pelosi last year in particular, where she was accusing Pelosi of racism and the like. But we're seeing it with Kanye West now, who's come on out and he's declared war on the Democratic Party and their Planned Parenthoods that have all been placed in cities, in a direct quote from him, by white supremacists to do the devil's work, close quote. Things like that. You have actually a fascinating letter that was just signed by current and former staffers of Planned Parenthood of Greater New York. I don't know if you saw this, as well as about 800 donors. There's 350 current and former staffers, 800 donors, supporters, and volunteers of Planned Parenthood that are all coming out and saying that Margaret Sanger has to now be declared, the founder of Planned Parenthood, has to now be declared a racist white woman. This is things. The left is not going to survive this tribalism. Tribalism isn't leftist. Tribalism is like alt-right. I mean, it's thoroughly racist. It has not the coalition of minorities, oppressed minorities, have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Part of that coalition is LGBT activists, along with really conservative Muslims. They've got nothing to do with each other, and it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire on the Democrats, I think, big time. So that would be, I would say, the third strategy. If you've got, the vengeance on the one hand, bring the full force of the law, and then you've got the vision on the other. I think as well the Democrats are playing a devil's bargain where they're trying to pretend that as white liberal bourgeois, they're going to be able to manage and oversee this coalition of the oppressed minority, and we're already seeing the so-called oppressed minority, that we're seeing that backfire. They're rising up and calling for these white liberals to step down.
Though, Steve, I think the bottom line is, and I'm a Christian, and I don't care who's offended by that, I'm going to stand fast in my beliefs. But the bottom line today, with the bulk of the problems and the causation of the problems, is that I think America's locked God in the basement. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely, because our founding fathers would say that. I mean, our true freedom, a true freedom requires virtue, as far as the founding fathers are concerned, because virtue involves not just a freedom from, but it involves a freedom for. We are free in order to do what we ought to be doing, but to understand what our obligations are, we need faith. We need a faith commitment precisely because it's the divine nature of the world around us as embodied in institutions like family, church, and community that teach us that we're obligated to things that we did not personally choose for ourselves, but that chose us, and therefore have the power to shape our choices for the good. But if you're going to have true faith, you've got to have freedom. And if you're going to have true freedom, you've got to have virtue. And if you're going to have true virtue, you've got to have faith. But if you have true faith, you've got to have freedom. This is what's known as the golden triangle of liberty that the founding fathers talked about. So you get rid of faith, that triangle collapses, it falls apart. That's, I think, what we're seeing.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. I've always said that my audience, I'm very proud of my audience on my radio program. They're very perceptive and they understand what's going on. But that being said, when you look across the board from the Atlantic to the Pacific, why and how is there such an acceptance for Black Lives Matter when people, if they just take the time to understand and know it's a Marxist/communist organization bent on the destruction of our Constitution and our values in this country, but yet there's so much support? Why?
Yeah, we've got some studies on this that I think shed some light. When asked the question more generally, what on earth makes people liberal? Okay, what is creating swamp creatures to begin with, right? You know, in the swamp, what's making people liberal? Scholars have pretty much concluded it's our university college campuses. Our college campuses are teaching our students two things, and again, I'm being generalistic, but I mean this is big. I mean it's a huge trend among our university, not our conservative Christian colleges, but just general university and colleges teach our students ultimately two things: that if you want to be considered educated and successful, okay, think about just your Hollywood culture or whatever. If you want to be considered educated and successful, you must believe in this cultural Marxist leftism. The cultural Marxist leftism is a defining characteristic of what it means to be educated and successful. And I think that's made its way into the hearts and minds of a lot of these kids who go on, they graduate, and then they see the leftist liberalism, the great awakening all around them, and they say, whoa, if I don't go and show my support, all my friends are going to think I'm not educated or I'm not successful. Now, of course, it's a lie, but I think that's precisely the perception that they create. What we found is that, for example, in 2016, white working-class men in particular who do not have college degrees overwhelmingly voted right-wing. And it's not just here in the States, it's the same in Europe as well. And so what we're finding is that if you didn't get indoctrinated, your general default position is one that loves nation, country, culture, custom, tradition. You work hard, you take care of your family, and so on. You go to the universities, you're taught that, unless you are having these social justice warrior meltdowns periodically, then you're not truly educated or successful. And that's why I think you're seeing that so pervasive today, but particularly among our cosmopolitan culture.
Mm-hmm.
In the rural area, in the exurbs, they find it nauseating.
One final thought, Steve, and on a scale of 1 to 10, where are we going into the next 3.5 months prior to the election? 1 being not so worried, 10 being extremely worried about the possible outcome of that election. Where do you stand?
Oh, definitely around 1. If you're going to put it on that scale, 1, and the reason for that is because opinion polls are historically extremely inaccurate for determining who's going to win an election. And so I don't know if you caught Helmut Norpolz of Stony Brook University's primary model. But that primary model has an almost unblemished record of predicting elections, and he doesn't do it on opinion polls. He does it actually on election trends and election turnout models of actual elections. And he's predicted, his algorithm has predicted rightly 22 of the last 24 presidential elections. So if you don't want to do all the adding, right, 4 years and all, that's going back to 1912. The first time they actually had to have they had to win primary elections in order to get the nomination. And what he found is that the overall primary winner almost always goes on to win the general election. The primary is the election in microcosm. And his algorithm gives President Trump a 91% chance at re-election.
Wow.
So he predicted Trump in 2016 with an 87% chance of he predicted Obama would win re-election about 9 months out from the November election with almost absolute certainty. So he's making the rounds of interviews. Interestingly enough, CNN and MSNBC have not called him Or he's been on Fox several times, and he's doubled down. He said 91% chance Trump is getting reelected. You can be assured of that. So, again, we always want to pray. We want to be absolute. We don't want to be in any way, shape, or form take anything for granted. We've got to get out there. We've got to vote. But if we do that, and the historic trends continue, we're going to have another 4 years of Trump.
Dr. Steve Turley, I certainly hope you'll consent to coming back in the near future. Always a pleasure to visit with you on the program. God bless you, and thank you for being on the show.
God bless you, Zeb. Thanks so much for everything you do.
All right, sir. Thank you. Very, very interesting and informative gentleman, Dr. Steve Turley, and we will have him back in the not-too-distant future. I can guarantee you that. Holy cow, time for the weather. It seems like I can never get to the weather on time. I apologize. Our weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, and they are the professionals providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. I mean, we're talking the people that really can help you, your family, your business with tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more by the professionals. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Gina with our weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but we're going to be warming up as we hit midweek. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies for today, a little bit breezy out of the west at about 13 miles an hour. We're expecting a high of 81. Tonight, nice and clear, dropping down to about 51. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 82 with an overnight low of 52. By Wednesday, this is where we start warming up. Sunny skies, high of about 86 with an overnight low of 54. 91 for Thursday, low 90s for Friday, and upper 80s to low 90s for Saturday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the radio.
Oh, Gina, she does a great job on the weather, and we appreciate it. And the weather brought to you by the professionals at 1710 Overland in Burley, 625th Street in Rupert. Who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. They can and they will help you. Give them a call. The professionals in accounting services, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Got time for a call or two? Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call to come in, I also want to remind you, big fun things are happening this entire week up at Oakley Pioneer Days. Clark's for Shopping at 100 East Main Street in Oakley invite you to come on up to Oakley Pioneer Days, and they've got that famous breakfast sausage from Grandma's special recipe in bulk patties or links. It's good. It's really good. Clark's for Shopping, in business since 1924, inviting you to Oakley Pioneer Days. Oakley Valley Stone, 204 West Main Street in Oakley, wishing the people of Oakley a very happy 133-year anniversary of Oakley Pioneer Days. When you need stone for fireplaces, headstone for a loved one, landscaping boulders, whatever, all of it at Oakley Valley Stone. Smith's Cafe, 135 East Main in Burley, in Oakley. My goodness, they're going to come after me. Smith's Cafe, 135 East Main in Oakley. There you go. Open Tuesday through Saturdays, 8 a.m. until all the customers are fed, full, and walking out the door. I'll tell you, they make great burgers, and they've got all your cold drinks on hot weather days to quench your thirst. Smith's Cafe in Oakley. And don't forget, too, Speaker of the House and Representative Scott Bedke, a rancher up in Oakley, him and his family want to invite you to the best doggone celebration in Idaho, the Oakley Pioneer Days. Don't forget, Oakley Pioneer Days all this week in Oakley. Thank you, Representative and Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke. There you go. Time for a call or two. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, this woman has no business, none, to be in Congress, along with the likes of Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, etc. She Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gets dumber and dumber as she goes along. And I'm sure you've heard the news stories already this weekend and again this morning, featured on CBS and other news networks, that basically she's giving looters and shoplifters a free pass because she said, well, they're just absolutely poor people, and they don't have everything that everybody else has, so in order to get food, they have to go steal. I am absolutely appalled as to this lawlessness that's being perpetrated by the liberal left, the sleazy, slimy left. On Friday, I heard a black man on television say, and I admire him for saying it, in America, we are all free. In America, we are all free, regardless of skin color, and we are free to pull ourselves up and succeed at whatever we want to do. God bless this gentleman, because that is such a true statement. You're living in the greatest country in the world. You've got all the opportunities. Take advantage of them. Don't sit back, whine and pine and cry, oh, my skin color, I can't do anything. You're racist. You won't help me. Well, do it yourself. I am sick and tired of a handout society. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Instead of offering my hand as a hand up and I will help you and you can use your talents and try to succeed to be anything you want to be. Anything you want to be in this land of opportunity, the United States of America. So to that gentleman that said that on television, in America we are all free regardless of skin color, and we're free to pull ourselves up and succeed. God bless him, because that's the right attitude, by far. Coming up next hour, we have Julio Gonzalez. He's going to be on talking about the tax problem with President Trump and whether or not President Trump should give up all of his trade secrets and information on his taxes. Then, of course, at 10:30, how does your garden grow? Well, we're going to have Vicky on the air. Don't forget about that. Caller, I got 30 seconds. Real fast. Go. Caller, go. Good morning.
Good morning. Am I too late to get on?
I've got about 30 seconds, Bert. Real fast. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I just wanted to call and congratulate you, Zeb, on your big day down to Elko. And I don't know of anyone that deserves it more than you. I would have loved to have been there and see you just a little short of word.
Bert, it was... Bert, God bless you for your kind thoughts. It was a circumstance to where when they handed me the microphone to address the crowd and everybody, for the first time in a long time, my old throat got a little bubbly, I'll tell you that.
Well, to be a Grand Marshal is a real honor to you, Zeb, and I just appreciate being called, I think, one of your friends.
You are a dear friend. You and your lovely wife will always be dear friends, and thank you for your kind thoughts this morning. I wished I had longer to talk, but I've got to go to the news from CBS.
Fine, that's fine. I just wanted to congratulate you.
God bless you. Thanks, Bert. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. Very nice. One of my dear friends right there, former Representative Bert Stevenson, and a man that I absolutely admire. Calls we'll take after the news, but right now, CBS. Oh, good morning again. Hour number 3 on a windy, kind of a blustery, but very sunny and nice-looking day outside. Hold on to your resistol so it doesn't blow away. Zev at the Ranch, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, very safe, clean environments, and the best in tires. Absolutely. Along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, about some other friends of ours. And that's Matt and Kelly Wiggins over at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. Oh, my goodness. You better get a hold of them today. They're right there on 21st Street, a beautiful 12-bedroom home for seniors to be with their friends. I've taken a tour of the place, and absolutely phenomenal, providing 3 meals a day, plus snacks, plus housekeeping, local transportation. Seniors, you better call the number right now, 650-4979. That number is 650-4979. Matt and Kelly Wiggins make an appointment to show you the beautiful Greystone Crossing Senior Living on 21st Street in Heyburn. You get a hold of those good folks today. Want to also remind you about our friends at 7K Metals. What's 7K Metals? Well, they can help you provide silver purchases sent right to your home. Silver going up in value, up, and away. You better check it out today. Help yourself build your financial security and future. And along with being a great savings opportunity, it's a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. Find out more about investing in financial security with Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259. Please tell them I told you to call. They'll share all the information you need about 7K Metals. Get a hold of them today. Real quick, Oakley Pioneer Days is going on all this week. Started last weekend with the great bump and rub car race. I'll tell you what, I heard that was fantastic. Well, all this week, Oakley Pioneer Days is going on. They're going to have all kinds of vendors in the park. They're going to have the Chuck Wagon breakfast, the Goose Creek runoff. They're going to have a great big gymkhana on Thursday night, Friday and Saturday, open rodeo, fireworks. Oh, my. And then next Saturday, don't forget, 5 p.m. starting time for one of the best parades anywhere, anytime. Oakley Pioneer Days, all of this week up in beautiful Oakley, Idaho. You be sure and stop up and see those good folks. Right now, let's go to the phone. Excuse me for choking. I've been going through my little hay fever fits and seizures every now and then for the last couple of weeks. And right with us right now is a gentleman that is the founder of the Gonzalez Family Office and CEO and founder of Engineered Tax Services. I welcome back. He's been here before. Julio Gonzalez, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'll quit coughing. I'll be just fine and dandy. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Listen, Julio, I wanted to get you on the program when I started reading some of the bio sheets and everything and talk to you about taxes. Why is it, I think I've got my own opinion that I've formed, but why is it all of a sudden 3 months from the election, the Democrats on the left are railing and absolutely screaming for Trump's taxes?
Well, obviously for them it's just a real marketing ploy. But why would the president give up his trade secrets? Why would he give up all the information that makes him the business leader he is in the real estate community? And no one does it better than him. Certainly he's used tax credits to bring buildings back to life. But look at the buildings he's brought back to life. The hotels, the country clubs, and the revenue that those produce from taxes, from sales tax, from property tax, from employment tax, from hotel tax. I mean, he's taken simple tax credits that no one else risked doing. He took the risk. He took some tax credits, and sure, they want to understand how he did it all so they can somehow try to, duplicate it down the road. But obviously, kind of give him a hard time about being so successful.
What about the situation with the Supreme Court ruling in favor of Donald Trump initially, but down the road it might change? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Supreme Court said that New York could take a look at those tax returns, and that was specifically to see if there was any expenses on there, related to the activity with Starr. But ultimately, they passed on the Congress getting them and passed that back down to the lower courts. So, that's where it stands. It's still going to take a lot of time to be worked out. And, nothing's for certain, and he'll continue to fight that. And certainly his goal is to protect his trade secrets.
Have you ever in your lifetime of being a businessman seen any other president as scrutinized as what we're seeing Donald Trump?
Not even close. I don't think there's any question that this president has been scrutinized more than any in history. Obviously, the left is out there. They want a different society for us, a different world for us, and they'll do anything they can now as they can become more extreme liberals to, take advantage of, their power to somehow unrail this. And thank goodness for President Trump fighting hard to protect our liberties.
Let me ask you about the corporate tax rate in America right now, sir. The Biden organization, if you will, I don't think they're the brightest and sharpest knives in the drawer, but they have come out and said that they're going to absolutely severely raise corporate taxes. We went through this once before, and we saw a mass exit of a lot of people leaving the confines of the United States and going elsewhere. What do you think is going to happen if, God help us, Biden is elected as president?
You're right, mass exodus, because it's competitive out there. Other countries have a lot lower tax rates. We were able to get it down to 21%, and the companies came back and said that's competitive. And hey, listen, by the way, if someone's paying 14% more tax that's going to the government, imagine if that 14% stays with him. It doesn't go under his pillow, right? It goes into the banks, and they make taxes, and it goes to the stock exchange, and there's taxes created there. Then he buys the equipment, taxes created there, and then it goes to hiring more employees, buying equipment, more taxes there, and ultimately the money gets spread around. It doesn't go under a pillow, and more money goes to Treasury, and more money goes to the IRS. But people don't ever understand that, and so you have a liberal out there that thinks, 35%, we'll get more money to go to the government. It's still more money goes to the government when we're down at 21% because there's higher employment.
Talking about employment, and Sean, I've got a little bit of feedback on the line when I'm talking. If you could help me on that, I'd appreciate it. Talking about employment, jobs, and the opportunity of having our economy come back, but yet they've got frivolous and stupid rules that are being applied to the jobless, if you will, or the unemployed, to where they're making more money staying at home and not being productive than they are taking a new job. What are your thoughts on those people?
Well, it's just bad law. I mean, the HEROES Act, the House basically said, let's give $600 a week to everyone unemployed through the rest of the year, a payroll tax holiday to the unemployed. And obviously, they would take that and stay home, and they would win votes, right? They would go buy those votes. But the reality is, to get people back to work, we got to give tax credits to employers and employees that are going back to work. And, it's all about the election, right? So we got a month to get these tax credits out, and they would love to give the tax holiday to everyone unemployed.
When you look at the election in November, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, what are your concerns about what Trump is doing or not doing to maybe propel the numbers up on popularity? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think he's doing a great job, on the tax, the regulations, and getting the economies back and open. Look, the stock market's back at their highs. Employment's coming back strong. It shows that the stock market's betting on President Trump that he'll be reelected, that the structure he put in for the economy, for the tax policy is a good one. And I think that resonates. And, I think he just has to continue under the HEROES Act to get some good tax policy up there, because it's going to come down to the economy. It's going to come down to the jobs. Are people feeling good about it? And I think he's on the right track.
If, and again I say God forbid that Biden wins and or the people that are pulling the puppet strings on Biden are in charge, our economy with higher taxes and the trillions and trillions of dollars that they want to spend on the absolute destitute of any thought green energy programs or single-payer life insurance and health insurance programs, where's all that money going to come from?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it's not going to come from the corporations because they're going to move,
Yep.
right? And it's not going to come from the wealthy because they're going to move as well. So it's just going to ultimately crash our system, create a Great Depression. And, again, people have choices, right? They have choices in the state they choose, and that's why so many people are leaving New York, Illinois, California, right? Because they know there's lower taxes, less regulation in other states, and the same applies globally.
You know, the thing is, I'm very proud of my audience. I said this last hour. They're very sharp. They study, they read, they comprehend what's going on in the news. But it amazes me, and I'll ask you the same question. It amazes me how the masses across the board, New York, L.A., etc., could be so outstandingly in favor of Biden and a socialist nation and socialist ways and means over capitalism when Trump already proved our economy can be the best in the world, and then the coronavirus came along and destroyed everything, but now it's on the rebuild. Why in the world would somebody want to throw the baby out with the bathwater?
You know, I think there's just a percentage of people there that are looking to, live off the taxpayers here and have a system where they can depend on taxpayers to contribute to their livelihood long term without their contribution to the society. And I think they congregate together, and I think that we showed in the last election that there's a higher percentage of people that want capitalism, and I think that will continue.
I hope and pray you're right. I want to say thank you very much for coming on our program this morning, Julio Gonzalez. Thank you, sir. God's blessings to you, and I'll have you back in the future. Thank you much.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very interesting gentleman, and talking about taxes and Trump. You know what? If I were Donald Trump, excuse me, I've had hay fever hit me about 3 weeks ago, and it will not go away. If I were Donald Trump, I would just basically thumb my nose at the entirety of those that want to get into his records, those that want to create and instill problems where there probably aren't any problems. And unless forced to by some applicable law, if I were Donald, I'd just say, hit the road, Jack. Don't bother me anymore. And it seems like Mr. Gonzalez was in agreement with my thinking. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In the time that I've got left, I've got to go back and ask you about this. This remark was made last week, and it was a remark that happened on Tucker Carlson's program about Democrats and the left want to abolish the suburbs. They are too clean and nice, and therefore, by definition, they are racist. What are your thoughts about that? The attack on the Caucasians in our country, me, you, etc., is not going away. We're either being called white supremacists, we're either being called white privileged, or where we live and how we live is too clean and nice, and we should have less. And the Democrats want to abolish the suburbs. What are your thoughts on this? People never came out in the past and said anything as radical as this. They might have thought it. They might have said it behind closed doors. Now it's an open door policy to where they're saying this every day, that we are racist and white supremacists for what we have and what we have earned. I've got time for a couple calls. Give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They're having what they call a sensational flooring event. Oh, my goodness, 48 months, same as cash on approved credit. And you can absolutely go in there and carpet your home at unheard of low prices in 3 different stages of carpet, $69, $89, or $99 per month. And the same for the flooring. I mean, you can check out all the wonderful flooring issues, and they've got varied degrees on the cost and the quality of the flooring. So check it out today. It's a great event called the sensational flooring event at Lee's Furniture Floors and More. They're located at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Isn't it amazing that some people think that what we've worked for and what we earned, if we want to keep it, that's greedy? But in my definition of greed is wanting something that somebody else has. So it's greedy to want to take away from people that earned it and give it to people that haven't.
You've got to help me on this, because I am so outraged that this kind of thought could be at all forwarded and in the leftist verbiage tank, if you will, to where they're starting to come out with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and many of the Democrats that say, oh, well, you have this, you've got a boat, or you've got a camper, or you've got a horse trailer, and you're white privileged, and you're a racist, and you're a white supremacist. Where do they come up with this garbage?
Well, it must be in some back room where they're smoking peyote weed, and that's the only way I can think of it.
Yeah, but you know, this all plays into a word that was used last week by the Democrats and Biden in particular, and the word is transformation. I'm putting this in my own verbiage right now. I could be dead wrong. But when you talk about the transformation of America, are you talking about taking away from everybody to give to the lessers that won't work for it? I think so.
I think so. If they weren't wanting to tear America down, if they were doing something that was helping America, they would say what they would do for Americans. But when they want to take it down, they say we're going to transform America. What that means, they can do anything they want and say, see, we transformed it.
Well, you know, it's not my fault, and it's not yours, that the big cities right now are dangerous and very chaotic. It's not your fault that if you walk down the streets in South Chicago, it may be a death knell for you and family members. It's not my fault. It's because of a diminishment in respect for law. It's a diminishment in respect for other people. It's a diminishment in the education system, and quite frankly, it's a diminishment in having faith in God and religion. And I'm not to blame, you're not to blame for what's going on in the big cities, but yet they, the left, want to abolish the suburbs because we're white privileged.
Well, if they want to abolish white privilege, let's go into Hillary Clinton's suburb where she lives, in Chelsea Clinton. If you want to see white privilege, take a look at Chelsea Clinton, gets out of college and gets a $600,000 a year job.
Yeah,
just fresh out of college.
Yeah. But Doug,
now that's white privilege.
I know you, and I know your background, and you've worked hard for what you have, and you've scrimped and saved just like I have. Nobody handed me a silver spoon. I dare somebody to show me that it was given to me, because it didn't happen. I've worked for everything I've got. Am I proud of what I have? Absolutely. Is it the main focal point? No. My Lord and Savior is my main focal point, because he created those blessings for me after I worked for them.
Exactly. You reap what you sow. And these people that want chaos and want to destroy other people's property, that's all that's going to happen. That's all they're going to get.
But
the ones that they're lazy and want the government to take care of them, that's all they're going to have.
You know,
because if you read in the Bible, it says you help yourself, not to be helped by others.
But Doug, this animosity that's going on in this country right now of calling people racist because their skin color white, calling them white supremacists, or saying that they are white privileged. Explain white privilege to me. Nobody's ever come on this program and given me a good definition. What is privileged about getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, going to work, and not really ending your working day until about 6 o'clock at night? Is that a privilege? Please help me.
It is honored. It is self-rewarding. It is, you're doing something to better yourself and mankind. So if white privilege was really true, then why did Elizabeth Warren say she was a Native American to get a job at a university?
Yeah. You got to run? All right, buddy. Thank you for your call. I do appreciate it. On this program, I will not allow any guest on here to make the assumption that there is white privilege or white supremacy or anything else. That just is garbage. Absolute garbage. There are teachers. And I read this story. It was in the New York Times, and then it was in the Wall Street Journal. There are teachers that are teaching in schools right now today, that white people are oppressors. All white people are oppressors, and all whites, underline the word all, not my choice of words, theirs, all whites are promoting a white supremacy culture. This is total garbage. There's other words I want to use, but I can't. Never on this program will there be any respect for these people that are preaching hate and preaching white supremacy and preaching white privilege. Not going to happen on this show. I think each and every one of my friends and family members have worked very hard and were very diligent, whether they went to a major college or university, whether they went to a trade school, whether they followed their dad and mom in the farm or the ranch. They've worked hard to get what they have, and they deserve the respect. They don't deserve to be slapped in the face being called white supremacists or racist. This has got to stop. This has absolutely got to stop. And the best way to stop it is to not vote for any Democrat or any left liberal in this upcoming election. They have to have a slap in the face and become a woke generation that they're not needed or wanted. Go away. Coming up after the break, we're going to have the lovely Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens, and then we're going to be talking to Deb Hines over at Minidoka Animal Control for our segment on Monday's Dog Days. And Deb sent me a real nice text last week and said, boy, the advertising on the program's doing well. We're getting a lot of dogs are finding new homes, and that made me feel good. But right now, we'll send it back over to Sean. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, my. The wind is blowing a little bit. You ever put stampede strings on your hat out there today? It might blow away. But right now, while you're working out in your garden and you're doing the hoeing of the weeds and you're making sure everything is just shipshape, it's about time to harvest the fruits of your labors. Here is now the #1 gardening expert in the world, Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. And you're right. You better have the stampede strings tied down tight.
You know, my wife's got one of those great big, I bought her a great big sombrero. It's got a brim probably about 16 inches or so. Holy smokes, and a good wind with the stampede strings, so she'll play like the flying nun.
She will. She'll have to have anchors on her feet at that point in time. Yeah, this wind's, and it's a heavy enough wind that it's really pulling some moisture out of the ground right now. So everybody needs to be aware that their plants, their flowers, their hanging baskets, their gardens and everything are going to dry out a little more and a little quicker in this wind than they would on a normal day. So be aware of that and kind of keep the watering going.
Well, yeah, when you say that, though, you said this many, many times, don't water during the heat of the day, right?
Right. Water up early mornings or in the evenings. I like evenings because the plants can have time in the cool to absorb that moisture and have their foliage and everything fully hydrated when the heat hits them, and then they don't wilt down as bad. They lose their hydration, and that's what causes leaves to wilt and things like that. And if they have a good saturation at night, they can have time to pull that all up into the full all the leaves of the plant, clear to the very ends of the leaves, and you don't get the burning and you don't get the wilting quite as bad.
Okay. Now, what about, like I said a moment ago, we're starting to see the possibility real soon of eating the fruits of your labor. Where are we as far as the growth of our crops in the garden?
Well, a lot of people, if they have their potatoes in, on a normal time, like first part of April, like the normal time frame of planting them, should be able to start using some of those really good little new potatoes that are just awesome with peas and the peas are setting on. Should be able to be pulling peas and potatoes off right now.
Ooh.
Radishes are ready. Probably most people have went through a couple of batches and are probably replanting for their third and fourth batches. And of course the zucchinis are setting on. They're blooming and just setting on all sorts of little zucchinis on there, so lots of zucchini bread will be being made here before too long, and stir fries and all that good stuff. So yeah, there's things that are going to be ready to eat here before too long. Tomatoes are starting, a few of the early varieties should start to ripen, and the peppers and that are setting on, so salsa's the next thing out there.
You just mentioned one of my favorite dishes, and we did not grow a garden this year, but red potatoes with peas in a cream sauce. Oh, Vicki, that is one of my favorites.
Oh, that's a good one. You can't beat that. Yeah, that is an excellent one, and there's nothing better than the little new red potatoes. And everybody gives me a lot of garbage about the fact that I love raw potatoes. I mean, they're especially the little red, like red potatoes. I'd rather eat raw red potatoes than cooked ones. So.
Really?
Oh, I love raw potatoes with salt.
Oh, my goodness.
I like the French, I don't know, but I love the new potatoes.
Okay. Well, now, I have, every week I get an email regarding the varmints and all the pests. And people, it seems like I've had more letters and emails this week about varmints and pests and bugs more so than ever before. Is it that bad?
We have been hit really hard this year with ants that are really doing damage on plants. Normally, ants have not been, they've been there, but they haven't been a real insect problem, as far as eating plants, but they are actually doing some chewing this year. I don't know if we got a new variety or just what, and then the earwigs are being very mean this year about getting up and doing a lot of chewing on things. Just had a fella in today that had come in, want to know what was eaten on his tomatoes and some of the fruit. He said there's just holes in them, and that's them lovely birds that are picking holes in things. They're testing them to see if they're ripe yet.
Well, when you talk,
that's the problem there. It's those are things that are kind of hard to get rid of. You can put a bait down for the earwigs and the ants and that, and get rid of them. But the birds, it just pretty much takes a shotgun.
Yeah, but if you're a poor shot like I am, you're going to lose a lot of tomatoes.
Well, you got to wait for them to get above the tomato before.
Anyway, talking about the bugs and everything, are there, you and I visited, I think it was a year or so ago, about how they've lessened the degree of, I'll just be blunt, the killing factor to the insects. Are we looking at more lessening in power of some of these chemicals to help your crops?
Well, they're just coming out with more and more of the same ones that just don't have the longevity, the lasting effect. You put them that you have to keep reapplying them, like about every time you water and things of that nature. They're a permethrin, which just don't have any longevity to them. If the bug comes in contact with it that first day or two, you're good to go. After that, it's diminishing, and you have to reapply. The sprays are the same way. You don't have the good ones that would last, that would have the longevity on the plant for that 10 to 20 days, like we used to have with Durazvan and Diazinon and that type of thing. We are down to the lighter strength ones, and that makes it kind of bad. But as long as you know it and you keep applying, keep them applied, they still do a pretty good job. You just have to be more vigilant with it and be on top of it a little bit better and keep them in contact with the bugs.
And you've got some excellent products right there that can help them, right?
We do have. We have granules. I have sprays. And if folks are spraying, hopefully they're spraying fruit trees right now on a real regular basis, or their apples and stuff are going to be pretty wormy if they don't get on it and get them stopped here real quick. They need it, should be spraying fruit trees at least every 10 days right now throughout the whole entire deal. And I don't recommend using one chemical all summer long. The bugs get used to it. They don't pay any attention to it. You need to kind of at least rotate between at least two of them.
Okay.
We have a product that you can use right when it gets up close to time for picking your fruit and your peaches and your cherries and all that kind of stuff, and it's called spinosad. Does a good job on bugs, but it's also very safe. It is an organic, and it is one organic that actually works.
Okay, now, in regards to harvesting and everything, I want to talk about a little subject different, and that's landscaping. You've got all kinds of items over there. This is a great time of the year to do some landscaping outside, rearrange how your lawn looks, etc., a river rock, all of this, and you've got all the products, right?
Oh, we do have. We carry a full line of the heavy weed mat that goes down underneath any of your bark or your rocks or anything that keeps the weeds out.
Okay.
We have it in full rolls, or you can buy it by the foot. If you only need 6 foot of a 6-foot piece, that's what we sell you. It's just that. We can measure it off any length that you need. We have a lot of different widths in it. It's definitely a must to put down underneath your rock and your bark so that it doesn't. Otherwise, you're going to lose all of that right down into the dirt, and then you just got a mess. But we have all of the products to do that with. We have a lot of neat yard art in the metal yard art that is fun to put around because it doesn't have to be watered and taken care of. It's just kind of pretty and cute and just really gives a nice texture and a nice look to a yard.
Okay. Now, another thing I wanted to talk to you about quickly is all the river rock. What you sent over to our place is absolutely beautiful. I mean, the color and the texture really enhances different flower beds.
It does. It's a Montana river rock. It comes out of the Polson area. There's other river rock out that say they're the same, but mine has more color than all of the rest of them. It has purples, greens, blues, burgundies, grays, and you name it, it's got it. And when the moisture hits it, it just bounces with color. But it just gives a real nice look. It stays put. What's nice about it is you can go in with a blower or a shop vac or something like that and clean. If it needs to be cleaned, it can be cleaned that way because it doesn't move, it doesn't blow away. If it starts to blow, I think we all better leave town because it's going to get ugly. But it's a very heavy rock. It stays where it belongs. You can flood irrigate through it. You can do however you want to irrigate. It does not end up out in your lawn, and that makes it a real nice deal with it.
Absolutely. Hey, it's time for the Vicky's Country Garden Tip of the Week.
The tip of the week is your berries and things like that are starting to set on. Make sure you've got them watered appropriately so that you get the full size on your berries, and that because your berry plants need more water at this point in time with them setting on berries than they do any other time. So keep your watering up, give them a little boost of fertilizer if you can, and enjoy picking.
Enjoy picking. All right. Listen, any specials or anything you need to highlight over at Vicky's Country Gardens?
Well, we got a new lawn product in that I'd like to have everybody come in and check out. It's in the line with the Tree Secret and the Chicken Soup. If you've got a lawn that's struggling, it's called Velvet Green, and it's a lot of organics that will really turn a lawn around and make it bounce and look really, really thick and lush. So come in and check it out.
I'll tell you what, and the hours, have they changed?
We're going to be changing our hours. Things are slowing down enough to where our weekly hours are going to be from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and we'll hold Saturday at 10 to 5, and then we're closed on Sunday.
All right. This is
if something happens that those hours don't work and you need something a few minutes after 5, just call and let me know, and I'll be more than glad to wait for you. It's not a problem.
Okay. Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-5663. She knows. I'm telling you, she is the guru of gardening. Thanks, Vicky.
All right. Hey, thanks, Zeb. Stay safe and stay cool.
All right. God bless. Thank you so much. That is a nice lady right there. I'm glad to have her on my program. Right now, it is time for the weather. This is the first time I've been on time for the weather, I think, in about 3 weeks. The weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Delicious meats from Scarro's Meats. You can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, check it all out, or give them a call at 324-7657. Oh my, they've got everything, all the hams and all the different flavors of bacon and pork chops and tri-tips and all the sausages and the bratwurst. Oh, the list goes on and on. Absolutely great eating. Scarro's Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Milder temperatures for today, but we're going to be warming up as we hit midweek. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies for today, a little bit breezy out of the west at about 13 miles an hour. We're expecting a high of 81. Tonight, nice and clear, dropping down to about 51. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 82 with an overnight low of 52. By Wednesday, this is where we start warming up. Sunny skies, high of about 86 with an overnight low of 54. 91 for Thursday, low 90s for Friday, and upper 80s to low 90s for Saturday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the
Oh, not too bad. It's summertime. I love it. And thank you very much to Don Scarrow and his entire staff over at Scarrow's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. And the telephone number to call, 324-7657. Delicious, delicious meats. As a matter of fact, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrow's Meats. Right now, as part of, we've had some fun with this over the last month or so, and it's a segment called Dog Days, and we want to thank Minidoka Animal Control, especially Deb Hines, for the time and effort to come on and talk about dogs that basically a lot of them have lost their homes, lost their owners, lost their master, and we're trying to find homes for them, and we've been, I think, pretty successful. Good morning, Deb Hines. How are you?
I'm just fine, Mr. Zeb Bell, and how are you today?
I am peachy, and you just made me feel good last week when you texted me and said that we're being effective in finding dogs new owners.
And you are, and I'm excited because it's working out really well.
Good. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, after the program, I think it was a week ago, I had a lot of people saying, what about Roger? And Roger was kind of a different-looking dog, and you sent me a picture of him, and to be quite honest with you, he's a good-looking dog.
He's cute, but he's just different. And the owner actually came and picked him up. He was taken from a yard in Burley, Idaho.
Oh.
So, yeah, his owner came and got him. But, yeah, he's a Beagle, Basset, Springer Spaniel cross.
Holy moly. I can't even describe what he looks like. But you know what? I could tell by the look in his eye. And you, of course, work with these dogs every day. But there was a look of complete kindness and genteelness.
Oh, yeah, he was a sweetheart. But anyway, the gentleman that owns the dog was happy to get him back. So I'm glad he got him.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, what are we going to feature today?
Okay, I've got a boxer cross by the name of Gunther.
Gunther.
He is fully vetted.
Okay.
He loves everybody. He's good with all other animals, up to and including cats. The only reason I have him is because his family was called to a Christian mission, and they couldn't take him.
Oh, that's sad.
So, yeah, they've had him since he was a baby. So he's kind of a sad little guy. He just wants to go home.
Okay.
He's a doll. He's a little bigger. He's older, but he's house trained, leash trained. I mean, you don't have to do a dang thing with him.
So,
He's fully vetted.
so Gunther.
He just needs a good, loving Hopefully home.
So Gunther basically was a dog that was turned into you for help in finding another home, and he's a boxer cross, and you said that he's housebroke and leash trained. I mean, that's a great dog for anybody right there.
Right. Yep, he knows how to do everything, so. And the fact that he even kind of likes cats is a plus.
Well, that's all depending on who you're talking to.
When you say, do they like cats, and you say he hasn't caught one yet, you don't say it like that. No, he gets along with cats.
Okay. All right, so we got Gunther. What color is he, by the way?
Tan and white.
Tan and white. Okay. So Gunther's over there, and what's another dog that we'd like to feature this morning?
I have got a little terrier cross, black and tan, cute little varmint, happy little dog. To be honest with you, he's not a fan of men, which kind of leads me to believe he's been abused a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But for someone that's looking just for a companion, an older person, this guy's the one.
And what's his name?
What are we calling that new guy? The black and tan one that we just got.
And while she's checking out the...
Kix. K-I-X.
Oh, like Kix Brooks. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a good country name right there. So he's a terrier cross. What else about him? How big is he?
He is the size of a terrier, so he's very small. He's a small house pug.
Okay.
You know, he's not medium to large. He's just a little guy.
Okay. So,
like I said, he is the happiest little fart ever, and he loves these people.
Okay. Well, now, along with...
His vaccination's done today, and so the only thing that he's going to need is I will get him to the vet. I can't tell if he's been fixed or not, but he needs a rabies shot, so we got to get that done.
Okay.
That, he's good to go.
Hey, you just brought up a very interesting subject, and let's expand on that just for a little bit. If people don't know if their dog has had a rabies shot, it's better to be on the plus side instead of the negative, isn't it?
Yes, and they need to also know that if their dog happens to bite someone, that's the first question we ask. Is he current on his shots?
Uh-huh.
And then I get a copy of the rabies shot records from the vet. If he is not, we have to take him to a veterinary to be quarantined for 10 days. And let me just say that runs about $250.
Yeah.
So a $20 rabies shot is a lot cheaper than the second choice.
You know, I'm going to ask you a really dumb question, Deb, and you and I have known each other for a long time, so don't laugh at me. But the administering of the rabies shot for dogs, is there another way of doing it other than the shot? Is there a medication, a pill? Is there anything that's been defined as being effective?
No, that's the only thing, and it's also monitored by the veterinary board, so the only person that can give it is a veterinarian.
I see.
That's why I can do everything except that.
Okay. Because I know of a dog in my neighborhood that is extremely protective of the husband and wife, but to get close to him and everything by somebody else, I mean, it's absolutely not going to happen.
Right. See, and I get that. I like those kind of dogs for people. Unfortunately, we also need to let them know it's okay that somebody else comes up to them as long as the owners are there.
Right.
Our issue with dog bites are if you are in that dog's yard and it bites you, it is not the dog's fault.
That's right.
You are on his property.
Right. Absolutely.
However, if that dog is out of his yard and bites you, then it is the dog's fault.
Yep. Well, you've got two dogs to give...
we work with.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got two dogs to talk about. Gunther, a boxer cross, and Kix, a terrier cross at Minidoka Animal Control. Tell everybody, if you would, please, how they can get a hold of you and find out about these two great dogs that really would like to find a new residence.
Okay, they can call us at 208-438-2200. and that is our city phone, and we are located at 50 West, 200 South Rupert. And just a word of advice, if it is GPS and they don't put it in that way, they're going to end up at Teton Trees in the Seaway.
Okay, well, all right. Better to call first. Okay. Deb Hines. All right, Deb Hines, God bless you, and I mean that. Appreciate everything you do on behalf of Minidoka Animal Control. I got to run, but we'll talk to you next Monday. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Take care. Oh, my. I got to quickly tell everybody about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, the best. Farmers, ranchers, dairymen, if you need some help out on the farm or dairy, don't forget, they've got a great farm service to where they've got their trucks running here, there, and everywhere, taking care of you. They know what it's like to be down and downtime and how expensive it is. They'll be there to serve you. All you got to do is get a hold of any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best in tires for summertime travel. I know a lot of you are leaving on vacation. I know a lot of you are taking the kids somewhere, Disneyland, maybe you're going up to Jackson Hole, whatever the case might be. Well, travel safe with the best of tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best of service for your front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this, and the best in brake service. Stop in and see James in Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane in Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got exactly 35 seconds. Go fast.
Zeb, I spent the weekend in Stanley. My son has a band and plays all over the West. He played up there this weekend. There was tons of people there from Boise, Washington, Massachusetts, and they are abandoning where they are so they can come up there and not have to be told what to do. They were standing in line, and some of them had masks on, some of them didn't, but they all crowded into a crowded restaurant Sunday morning. And, of course, they had to take their masks off to eat. And you know as well as I did, between bites, they were talking.
Yep.
They didn't, have their mouths shut. And then, okay, that was one point. They just left one place and went and broke the rules other places. It doesn't matter. And then, of course, his bass player, her name is Darcy, and she is unbelievably talented. She's half black. And she told me just as I was leaving Saturday night to go back to the campsite, she says, well, you're like the father I never had. And her father was, of course, a black man. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, that's a unique story. And I said, here I am, a white, whatever you want to call me, and I'm a loving, caring man, really. I just don't want to see my country go to hell, but here a half-black lady told me I was like the father she never had.
I tell you, Randy, I don't want to be rude. I want to hear more of this. I just flat ran out of time. I want you to call tomorrow. Call tomorrow, and we'll talk more about this. And I do appreciate your honesty on that. Thank you. That's a good story. Good story. I got to run. The way things were, the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to me, and God we trust. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Stay cool. See you tomorrow morning.